Welcome to the very first episode of the Addvanceo Podcast.
We are so glad you could join us for this.
Absolutely. This podcast is really dedicated to exploring leadership, communication, coaching, all those human-centered performance elements in organizations.
And in today's world, these are the topics that really matter.
They are. The challenges we're facing, they aren't just technical anymore. They're deeply human.
Which is why this podcast exists, really. We want to bring clarity and real insight into these domains, focusing on actual organizational challenges and practical ways to think about them.
And for our first time out, we're doing what we do best here.
A deep dive.
Exactly. A deep dive into the very system that gives this show its name, Addvanceo. We've been handed the comprehensive source material defining its entire philosophy, its model, and, well, its whole scope of expertise.
That's right. And for you, the listener, our goal today is to really unpack how this methodology is designed to solve one of the most pressing challenges in modern organizations. Well, the sources make it very clear. Addvanceo isn't just, selling another set of training courses.
No, it's positioned as something much deeper, isn't it?
Exactly. It's a direct solution for what they call these human challenges that cannot be solved with technical skills alone.
That phrase just hits home immediately. I mean, you think about it in this world of, what do they call it, accelerating change and perpetually heightened expectations.
Which feels like every day.
Right. The data shows it. Most of the catastrophic failures in business, they aren't because of a lack of technical skill.
Not at all. They're about relationship breakdowns, misalignment, poor communication, the human stuff.
The really hard stuff.
Precisely. And so the core premise here is that sustainable thriving, actually succeeding over the long term, is basically impossible without deeply cultivating relational intelligence, getting that profound clarity of purpose across the entire organization.
And developing communication skills that are genuinely adaptive.
That's it. It's about building durability not by, say, tightening processes, but by strengthening the human connections within them.
So this is a complete systemic approach we're looking at.
Yeah.
The documents lay out this blend of mindset, expertise, and method to get lasting results. So what's the fundamental promise? What's the mission?
The mission is stated very explicitly. It's to help professionals navigate complexity, clarify objectives, strengthen collaboration, and develop sustainable ways of working.
And that word right there, sustainable, that feels like the key.
It is. Think about the complexity of the market today, the sheer volume of information, the speed of decision-making.
It's overwhelming.
It can be. And it demands that people and teams have a way to process that pressure without burning out. This system, at its core, is designed to provide that very framework.
Okay, so let's get into it. Let's unpack this foundational philosophy. Because if you don't buy into the core belief, the whole system just collapses, right?
It does. The foundation, and this is articulated by the founder, Patrick Zacharis, is built on the conviction that in every single individual resides a unique, infinite potential.
Infinite potential. That is a powerful starting point.
It's the bedrock belief. If you start with that premise, you completely shift the focus. It's no longer about remediation, about fixing what's wrong.
It becomes about cultivation.
Precisely. The core strategy they use to bring this potential out is by leveraging past successes and drawing on existing strengths. It's a kind of organizational coaching built on an appreciative model.
So you're not fixing weaknesses, you're identifying what already works and then figuring out how to replicate that and scale it.
That's it, exactly. Imagine you're a leader getting this coaching. You're not starting from a place of deficit, you're starting from a place of demonstrated power.
That's immediately empowering. I am curious, though. The source material mentions that Patrick Zacharis spent 15 years in finance and management before he moved into training and coaching.
Right.
How does that kind of high-stakes, very analytical background inform a philosophy that's so human-centric?
I think that background is absolutely critical to its success. Finance, management, especially at senior levels, it all relies on hard, measurable outcomes, on predictive behavior.
Right, the numbers had to add up.
Exactly. Zacharis's history gives the whole system credibility with those hard-nosed business leaders because he speaks their language, he understands P&Ls, he understands organizational risk.
And that explains the tools he chooses.
It does. It explains why he leans on these analytical, certified diagnostic tools like PCM and DISC, which we'll get into later, because those models are structured, they're measurable. The philosophy is humanistic, but the execution is rigorously analytical.
So it's not soft skill fluff.
It's performance engineering.
This dual focus, then, human potential meeting analytical rigor is baked into their core values.
Uh-huh.
Let's walk through those 4 anchors of the Addvance CEO approach.
Okay, starting with number 1, humanism.
The big one.
This is the commitment, the promise to place the individual at the absolute center of durable performance. It's about valuing that unique potential above everything else.
It recognizes that a high-functioning team is really just a group of individuals who feel seen.
And whose specific, unique contributions are seen as essential. Performance isn't manufactured, it grows from engaged individuals.
And that individual focus must demand a really strong ethical framework, which brings us to the second value, ethics.
Right. They commit to what they call responsible coaching, which is built on these strict standards, confidentiality, respect, and integrity.
The source material really emphasizes accreditation here. Why is that so important in this domain?
Because without professional oversight, coaching can just become arbitrary consulting. Anyone can call themselves a coach.
Sure.
Their explicit reliance on rigorous accredited standards, especially referencing the ICF, that's the International Coaching Federation, it guarantees a professional, ethical, and structured framework.
So when a company hires a coach, they get an assurance that the methods are sound and confidentiality is ironclad.
The ICF affiliation gives it that rigorous stamp of approval. And that rigor feeds directly into the third value, which is excellence.
By relying on ICF and other certifications, they're ensuring the service is sharp, professionally vetted. It really elevates the practice.
It does. And finally, number 4 is innovation. In a world of accelerating change, the methods have to adapt constantly.
So what does innovation look like for them?
For Addvanceo, it specifically means blending modern digital learning with in-person practices.
The hybrid model.
Exactly. To ensure the training is dynamic and relevant. This combination makes sure that the philosophical learning is actually grounded through real human relational practice, while the digital tools allow it to scale and provide ongoing reinforcement.
Okay, so let's pull all that together. If I'm the client, what do I walk away with? The mission statement seems very explicit. To install positive, effective, and durable behaviors in individuals to find an equilibrium between efficiency and well-being at work.
And that is the crucial link.
High-performance efficiency has to be tied to human health well-being.
That integration is the definition of durability in their system. Think about it. If you get efficiency at the expense of well-being, you just create burnout and turnover.
So the results are temporary.
Exactly. And if you get well-being without efficiency, you fail the business objective. Addvanceo is architected to hit that specific, sustainable equilibrium.
We mentioned Patrick Zachris, the founder. PCC-ICF, BCM certified, the finance background. But it's also important to note, this isn't a solo show. It's a collaborative structure.
Correct. It's a dynamic association of specialists. The core group includes 2 other certified formators coaches, and specifically a man named Luc Blondeau, who is an expert in talent development and digital learning.
He's the enabler for that innovation value.
That's a great way to put it. And of course, the standout collaboration is with John Doman.
The Olympic champion, international athlete.
Right. And that diverse blend, you've got corporate, psychological, digital, and elite athletic performance. It ensures they can address every single dimension of what makes an organization successful. So moving from the philosophy to the mechanism, the Addvanceo model is the structured methodology that actually makes the philosophy actionable.
The roadmap.
It's the roadmap for behavioral transformation. And it's structured around 3 distinct phases that correspond to the 3 dimensions of learning: know-how, being, and becoming.
I love that the company name, Addvanceo, actually embeds this structure.
Yeah.
Advancer, developer, Ozer.
It's all right there.
The whole approach is defined by these 3 steps and 8 keys, designed to help clients optimize their projects with clarity and security. So let's start with the practical application, the 6 keys of know-how.
Step 1 is Advancer. It literally translates to advance or to move forward, and it covers the 6 practical keys to savoir-faire or know-how. This step is basically the project management and relational execution framework.
Let's break down those first 2 keys. Clay 1, analyzer. The starting point, a rigorous diagnostic of the context and a clear definition of objectives. How is this different from a standard project kickoff?
Well, it's different because the analysis is done through that appreciative lens we talked about. It's not just what are our deliverables.
It's also what are our current strengths that will help us get there.
Exactly. It sets the measurable boundaries, but it aligns the starting point with the desired outcome from a place of strength.
Which leads directly into Clay 2, voir, to see. This is about foresight, visualizing the desired destination. So many organizations struggle to articulate a vision beyond just, hitting a number.
And Addvanceo helps them truly see it by connecting the analysis to the aspirational. Visualization here is a powerful cognitive tool. You're helping the team create a shared, detailed, emotional picture of what success looks like.
Which builds intrinsic motivation.
It does. If the whole team can really visualize that final state, they're much more capable of identifying all the necessary steps to get there.
And once we know where we are and where we want to go, we need action. Clay 3, Agir. This key is all about effective action. The sources say it has to include time management, prioritizing, and proactive relations management.
This is where their training programs on classical management techniques come in. We're talking tools like the Eisenhower matrix for prioritization or the Pareto law, the 80-20 rule to focus effort.
But Agir also includes relations management. That seems crucial.
It is.
Yep.
You can't take effective action in a vacuum. You absolutely need collaborative buy-in from your stakeholders.
That need for buy-in leads us right to Clay 4, Negotiate. This key emphasizes securing alliances and creating win-win relationships. How do they teach this kind of non-adversarial negotiation?
It's all rooted in cooperation and reciprocity. In a complex organization, you often need resources or support from departments where you have no direct authority, right?
All the time.
So this type of negotiation is about identifying shared interests, building trust, and framing the interaction as a mutual benefit. It ensures a continuous flow of support for whatever you're trying to achieve. It transforms potential roadblocks into powerful alliances.
Then we move to communication efficiency with Clay 5. Communicer. They stress adapting messages for maximum impact. How deep do they go in adaptation?
Very deep. And this is where the personality models like PCM and DISC become so integral. Adapting the message isn't just about using clear language.
It's about the channel.
It's about understanding the recipient's psychological channel. Do they respond primarily to facts, to emotions, to logic? This ensures the message actually lands effectively, reducing ambiguity and preventing those common relational conflicts that happen when people are literally speaking different psychological languages.
And the loop closes with the sixth key, Clay 6.
Ooh.
Evaluate. To evaluate. Measuring results and adjusting actions based on feedback. This seems straightforward, but what makes their evaluation process durable?
It's the continuous aspect of it. Durable evaluation isn't a one-time audit at the end of a project. It's about embedding a culture of constructive, non-judgmental feedback.
So people can iterate quickly.
Exactly. It promotes agility. If feedback is seen as punitive, people hide their mistakes. If it's seen as a necessary part of continuous improvement, as defined by this system, then it becomes a huge leverage point for growth.
Okay, so Addvanceo covers the execution, the how. The second phase, developer durablement, developing sustainably, shifts the focus entirely inward to the savoir-être, or being. This feels like the hardest part to coach.
It is.
How do you integrate sense, values, motivation, a clear reason for being?
This is the phase that prevents burnout. Organizations frequently adopt new processes, the know-how, but if those processes violate the deep-seated values or sense of purpose of the people using them,
The change will eventually be rejected.
it will. The change won't stick. This coaching cultivates what they call the conscience required for perennial action. It asks you, the listener, are your actions aligned with your deepest identity? If a leader's stated value is trust, but their actions are consistently micromanaging, that internal friction will eventually erode their performance. This phase is all about addressing that friction.
And finally, that internal alignment empowers the final transformative step. Step 3, Ozer. To dare. To have the courage for the debonair or becoming. What does that courageous choice actually look like in a corporate setting?
It looks like purposeful action that breaks restrictive habits. It's challenging the status quo even when the status quo feels safe. The ultimate goal is defined as liberating potential with confidence and going beyond limits.
This is where someone transitions from just executing tasks
To becoming a truly transformed visionary leader, someone who makes strategic bets based on their clear being and their competent know-how. It's the highest stage of self-actualization, but within a professional context.
So we've laid out the framework. Now let's look at the extensive menu of specialized training programs they offer, which are organized across management, leadership, and communication. This menu really shows how that philosophy is applied in the trenches of day-to-day organizational life.
Absolutely. Let's start with Domain Focus A, Management and Coaching Posture. The Manager Coach training is a real foundational piece here. It addresses a major shift needed in modern management.
This training is designed to combine that traditional management authority, the need to set goals, hold people accountable, with essential coaching tools. It teaches managers to use powerful techniques like strategic questioning.
Deeply active listening and, crucially, fostering autonomy. The goal isn't just about getting tasks done, it's about developing the person who is doing the task.
It transforms the whole dynamic, doesn't it? Instead of a manager saying, do this, the manager coach asks, given our constraints, what's the most effective path you can see to getting this done?
That simple shift is huge. It drives engagement because the employee now owns the solution. This is absolutely essential for fostering high engagement and development across a whole team.
And they tackle hyper-relevant challenges, like remote work. The material details specific content on managing modern teams, explicitly addressing strategies for remote and hybrid work. What are the key psychosocial risks they focus on mitigating?
They focus on defining very clear rules and rhythms to prevent ambiguity, which is just rampant when teams aren't physically together.
Right.
But more importantly, they address preventing those psychosocial risks like isolation, that feeling of being disconnected from the team, and information overload or surcharge, which happens when the boundaries between work and home just dissolve. The training gives managers tools to maintain cohesion and recognize signs of stress, even in a dispersed team.
They also advocate for something called benevolent leadership. Now, that phrase can sound a little soft, but the source material positions it as a strategic leverage point. What's the practical difference between benevolent leadership and just being a nice boss?
That's a great question. A nice boss might avoid conflict at all costs. A benevolent leader, on the other hand, is strategically focused on the health of the organization.
So it's more intentional.
Much more. Benevolent leadership is about fostering a high degree of trust and psychological safety, which is what enables creativity and smart risk-taking. It strategically recognizes individual potential and makes sure contributions are visible. It's really leveraging empathy to get better business results, not just to have a nicer atmosphere.
And beyond these behavioral shifts, they cover the basics. The management of excellence programs, these are the tools that underpin the UDGER key we talked about earlier.
Correct. Here we see those classical, indispensable managerial tasks detailed out. Effective delegation, mastering time management, explicitly using established frameworks like the Eisenhower matrix for urgent versus important tasks.
And the Pareto law for focusing effort.
Right. And also crucial performance piloting, using objective setting frameworks like SMART goals or OKR's objectives and key results. By grounding the coaching in these established, recognized tools, they maintain that critical link between behavioral change and measurable business outcomes.
Okay, let's pivot now to domain focus B, soft skills and inner leadership. This addresses that savoir-être component. If you can't manage yourself, you can't lead anyone else.
It's fundamental. Their programs on confidence building are essential for durable leadership. This involves dedicated work on identifying and then overcoming those limiting beliefs that restrict a person's potential.
Like what kind of limiting beliefs?
For example, a leader who constantly believes they have to be the smartest person in every room. That belief will make it almost impossible for them to delegate effectively. The coaching helps them strategically reference their own past successes, using that philosophy of leveraging existing strengths to build resilience against critique and failure.
They summarize these competencies very nicely in their model of the soft skills star. Tell us about the 5 families of competence that make up this model.
The Étoile de Soft Skills, or the Star of Soft Skills, provides a really holistic map for personal growth. The 5 points of the star cover: communication, the art of effective exchange; cooperation, teamwork and alliance building; agility, adapting to change and uncertainty; leadership, vision and influence; and critically, emotional management.
It's a good reminder that a truly developed professional needs balanced strength in all 5 of those areas.
Exactly. And focusing on that 5th point, they have dedicated training on emotional intelligence. We hear this term all the time, but what specifically does Addvanceo focus on? They emphasize mastering the 5 traditional key competencies: self-awareness, recognizing your own feelings and motives; self-regulation, managing disruptive emotions; motivation, empathy, understanding others' perspectives; and social skills, managing relationships.
And they present this mastery as the most effective path to managing stress.
And creating positive, constructive, professional relationships, which, drastically cuts down on relational friction and wasted time.
And finally, domain focus C, communication and conflict resolution. This is where the rubber really meets the road in terms of relationship health.
They place a heavy emphasis on foundational dialogue skills, especially mastering active listening. And this involves not just, hearing the words, but adopting the correct physical posture, providing accurate reformulation to ensure you've understood.
And asking skillful, powerful questions.
All of it is aimed at building professional relationships based on transparency and mutual trust, which is what they call the ciment de la relation, the cornerstone, in their 5 fingers model.
And when misalignment inevitably turns into conflict, they rely on a powerful, structured method, the C&V method, or nonviolent communication. How is it used in a business context?
CNV is so powerful because it gives you a clear 4-step process for expressing disagreement assertively, but without generating aggression. The steps are observation, stating facts without judgment; feeling, expressing how the observation makes you feel; need, articulating the underlying need that isn't being met; and finally, demand, making a clear, actionable request.
Can you give us an example?
Sure. Instead of saying, "You are always late with your reports," which is accusatory and will just create defensiveness,
Right.
a CNV approach would be, "When I received the report 3 hours past the deadline," that's the observation, "I felt anxious," that's the feeling, "because I need reliability to meet our client commitments," that's the need. "Would you be willing to submit your next report 1 hour earlier tomorrow?" That's the demand.
It completely transforms the tension into a constructive dialogue.
It does. That structural approach ensures that even high-stakes conversations can remain productive, and they round out this section with high-impact skills like mastering the pitch.
Ensuring influence.
Exactly. The techniques focus on structuring a clear, engaging, and convincing presentation. The training covers defining those essential elements: a strong hook to get attention, a clear key message, and a definitive call to action.
But also the nonverbal stuff.
Critically, they stress adapting nonverbal communication, recognizing that the most persuasive element often isn't the data on the slide, but the presenter's confidence, their posture, and their energy. This next section really reveals the technical depth of the Addvanceo system. They aren't just offering generic advice, they're using internationally certified models to diagnose specific behavioral tendencies and predict relational dynamics.
This is how they move from the philosophy to a scientifically grounded intervention.
That's right.
It's fascinating that they're certified in multiple established personality models. It gives them a really broad diagnostic capability. Let's start with the one that seems most detailed, the Process Communication Model, TCM, which Patrick Zagaris is certified to teach.
PCM is a cornerstone of their approach. It provides a highly nuanced understanding of how individuals perceive the world, what their psychological needs are, and how they react when they're under stress.
So it's a predictive model.
It is. It posits that every person has a condominium of 6 personality types, though one typically dominates. Those 6 types are the workaholic, the persistent, the dreamer, the rebel, the promoter, and the empathic.
6 completely distinct lenses through which people see the world. So how does a manager use this information practically? Give us an example of recognizing stress signals.
Okay, let's take 2 common types. Let's say you're managing a workaholic type. You need to understand that their primary psychological need is recognition for their work and their competence.
They need to be seen as good at their job.
Exactly. So when they get stressed, they fall into what's called the be perfect driver. They demand perfection from themselves and from everyone around them, which often leads to over-control and an inability to delegate.
So how do you intervene?
The manager has to intervene by first validating the person's effort and competence, and then asking for concise, clear delegation steps. You meet their need first. Conversely, a rebel type is driven by a need for fun and playful contact. Under stress, they revert to complaining, blaming, and resisting authority.
You can't reason with a stressed rebel.
You can't. You don't try to use logic. You switch to their channel, often using humor or some playful nonverbal communication, to shift them out of their negative script, and then you can communicate the task.
Wow. That's a huge shift from generic management. It moves from managing the task to managing the person doing the task.
Precisely. And the second practical use is adapting your communication channel. For instance, the persistent type needs facts, logic, and a clear commitment to values. The empathic type needs emotional validation and warmth. PCM teaches clients to instantly recognize who they're talking to and adjust their language and tone accordingly,
Which minimizes misunderstanding and conflict.
drastically.
In addition to PCM, they use other established color-based models like Insights Discovery and the broader DISC models. Their training refers to learning to manage in colors.
Right. These models categorize behavioral preferences into four primary groups, often symbolized by colors. Red for dominance, which is results-focused. Yellow for influence, which is socially engaging. Green for stability, which is harmonious and patient. And blue for conscientiousness, which is analytical and precise.
And the utility here is immediate.
So immediate. A red dominant manager who uses rapid, direct communication learns that they have to slow down and provide meticulous detail when they're talking to a blue dominant team member whose primary need is for accuracy and data.
We saw that client testimonial, the one that mentioned using color personality profiles for difficult personal interactions.
Yeah.
It suggests the insight spills over into life outside of work.
It absolutely does, because these models are decoding fundamental human drivers. By teaching managers to read these behavioral preferences, they learn to adjust their personal management style and, critically, reinforce team cohesion by valuing that diversity. The red speedster learns to appreciate the blue analyst's rigor, and they realize that the combination of those opposing forces actually creates a much more robust outcome.
Okay, shifting gears now to appreciative inquiry, AI, and management appreciative. This methodology seems like a complete philosophical departure from traditional problem solving.
It is a profound shift. Traditional consulting focuses on deficit, right? It's all about diagnosing what's broken, what the gaps are, what needs fixing. Appreciative inquiry flips that completely on its head.
How so?
It focuses all resources entirely on what works, on the organization's existing strengths, its peak performance moments, its past successes. The fundamental belief is that organizations move in the direction of the questions they ask.
So if you keep asking what's the problem,
You perpetuate the language and culture of problems. If you ask, when were we at our absolute best, you generate momentum toward that excellence.
and this methodology follows a highly structured 5D process. Let's detail those phases for the listener.
Right. The 5D process is the roadmap for this kind of large-scale positive transformation. It starts with one, definition. You frame the inquiry. So instead of framing the problem as low morale, you define the objective as building an environment of flourishing contribution.
A positive frame.
Then two, discovery. This is the heart of AI. It involves dedicated, appreciative interviews where employees share detailed stories of past organizational successes. They get to relive those peak moments of efficiency, trust, and collaboration.
Then 3, dream. Based on the evidence from discovery, teams collaboratively envision this audacious, aspirational future. They build collective energy around what the organization could become, grounded in their own past capabilities.
Then 4, design. The creative stage. This is where concrete proposals for new structures or processes are created to support that dream. And finally, 5, destiny or deployment. The final stage focuses on sustaining that momentum and applying the new designs across the organization, making that preferred future a reality.
This AI approach leads directly to a concept they call appreciative resilience. That's a powerful term.
It is. Appreciative resilience is the ability to transform obstacles into opportunities by consciously mobilizing your existing strengths and past victories. When a setback happens, instead of panicking, the organization asks, how did we overcome similar crises in the past? What strengths did we use then that we can mobilize right now? It builds confidence from the inside out.
And finally, to handle the most complex environments, they use advanced contextual tools, specifically the Cultural Orientation Framework, COF, for international work.
The COF is essential for developing cultural intelligence, which is a non-negotiable skill in today's globalized workforce. It helps leaders and teams navigate the inherent paradoxes of culture by analyzing 7 key cultural dimensions.
Like what?
Things like the relationship to authority. Is it hierarchical or egalitarian? The relationship to time. Is it linear or cyclical? And communication styles. Are they high context or low context?
So instead of relying on national stereotypes, a leader uses COF to understand why, for instance, a team might interpret a simple email as an impersonal slight, or why certain colleagues prefer group decision-making over individual autonomy.
Exactly. It moves leaders past simple surface-level differences toward adapting their leadership style to the underlying cultural drivers. It ensures maximum efficacy in multicultural environments.
And anchoring all of this behavior modification in science, they include neurocognitivism. Why is understanding the brain necessary for effective coaching?
It provides the scientific why behind the behavioral change. They use this approach to help clients understand fundamental cerebral functioning, especially as stress impacts our cognitive styles. This knowledge is critical for managing our stress responses.
The fight, flight, or freeze response.
Right. Under pressure, the brain defaults to those primal survival modes, fight, flight, or inhibition. By recognizing these automatic responses, coaching can help individuals deliberately move from that automatic mode to a more adaptive mode, meaning they can make rational, strategic decisions instead of reactive, emotional ones, even in high-pressure scenarios.
This next transition is my favorite, because Addvanceo takes all of those highly technical psychological tools and slams them right into the most visceral example of high performance imaginable: elite sport. The collaboration with John Doman, the Olympic champion, is just so impactful.
It's genius marketing, but it's also brilliant pedagogy. Doman, as the captain of the Belgian national hockey team, the Red Lions, brings a lived experience that immediately cuts through all the corporate theoretical debates. His journey is the ultimate case study in achieving durable performance.
Let's analyze the Red Lions story. The narrative is so compelling because it's not about instant success. The team was once described as quasi-inexistent on the international stage when Doman started. Yet through years and years of sustained effort, they became world, European, and Olympic champions.
That transformation provides indispensable lessons they transpose directly into business leadership. The first lesson is that durable performance is a human adventure. It's messy. It includes the internal story of collective human endeavor, the doubts, the setbacks, the hard-won renaissance. It shows that the goal is never perfection, it's resilience.
The second lesson is so crucial in today's talent wars. Collective engagement surpasses raw talent. They emphasize that simply assembling the most technically skilled individuals is not enough.
Not even close. True triumph comes from collective engagement and a shared vision that makes the whole far greater than the sum of its parts.
And the third lesson links right back to appreciative resilience. Resilience is forged through failure. Dahlman's journey proves that the capacity to learn from setbacks, to evaluate without blame and maintain a shared vision is the non-negotiable foundation for achieving exceptional results over a decade or more.
There's a quote from Doman in the sources: "The hardest thing is not to win. It's to dare to believe in it together."
That is the heart of the Ozer daring step from the Addvanceo model. It links that athletic mindset, the courageous commitment, right back to the corporate methodology.
And this experiential learning is structured through their seminar, co-animated by Zacharis and Doman, titled The Inspiring Hand of the Art of Leadership. It uses a highly symbolic and actionable framework, the 5 fingers of leadership. This provides a structure that leaders can immediately internalize and apply.
Okay, let's go into detail on how each finger represents a core leadership function, linking that anatomical analogy to the management task.
First up, the index, Cap'n sends. The pointer finger. It naturally represents vision and alignment.
Where are we going and why?
Exactly. This module trains leaders to formulate a clear, inspiring vision and then ensure that team objectives, values, and daily behaviors are rigorously aligned with that single direction. It stops teams from wasting effort on side projects that don't serve the core mission.
Then number 2, the majeur, symbole de la relation, the middle, longest finger, symbolizing the foundation or cement building trust.
This is the core pillar. It's focused on creating a framework of security and mutual respect. The whole idea is that performance is impossible without psychological safety. This section details the specific behaviors that build trust and the ones that break it.
Number 3 is the annulaire, aliment des engagements, the ring finger. That symbolizes long-term commitment.
Which means clarifying roles and responsibility. It's about ensuring everyone knows their unique role, promoting co-responsibility within the team, and aligning mutual expectations to avoid overlapping effort or, even worse, gaps in coverage.
Then the pouce, moteur du progrès, the thumb, the source of opposition, but also the key to grasping things.
Here, it's the engine of progress. This means establishing that robust culture of constructive feedback we talked about earlier. It trains leaders to use continuous evaluation and experience review, like a debrief after a game, as a leverage point for growth, not as a necessary evil.
And finally, the auriculaire, preparation strategic, the pinky finger, the often overlooked small finger that still plays a vital role in fine control.
This represents anticipation and agility in action. It trains leaders to anticipate critical situations through shared scenario planning, ensuring that the team's collective reaction to the unexpected is quick, coordinated, and adaptive.
What's so unique is that the sources mention this training has experiential options, potentially including a hockey session with John Doman himself.
Mm-hmm.
How critical is that kind of visceral athletic example to moving a senior finance manager from, say, that flight or inhibition stress mode to an adaptive mode.
Oh, it's incredibly effective because it anchors the learning somatically in your body. In a simulated high-stakes sports environment, you cannot afford to overthink or react automatically. You have to trust your training and your team instantly.
It makes it real.
It forces participants to physically apply the principles of trust, measure, and anticipation auriculaire in a dynamic, high-pressure situation. That makes the memory of the lesson far stronger and more readily accessible when they get back to a corporate crisis. It makes an abstract concept like trust completely tangible. So the final structure we need to analyze is the professional development ecosystem itself, which is managed primarily through the Patchwork Coaching Academy. This really shows Addvanceo's commitment to certifying the next generation of leadership talent.
This academy offers structured certification paths for managers and consultants. We see 2 distinct levels detailed: Coach Now, Level 1, and Tomorrow Coach, Level 2. Can you walk us through the goal of each level?
Sure. Coach Now is the intensive foundational course. It focuses on the core competencies of business coaching: the essential posture, mastering active listening, and asking those powerful, provocative questions. The immediate goal is to equip managers and internal consultants to integrate coaching into their daily practice, meeting the ICF's professional standards.
And Level 2.
Tomorrow Coach, the advanced level, is for those who are committed to professional practice. It focuses on refining their expertise, incorporating systemic and collective coaching dimensions, and preparing candidates for high-level ICF accreditation like PCC, Professional Certified Coach, or eventually MCC, Master Certified Coach.
The fact that the certified experts have a combined total of over 50,000 hours of coaching experience really speaks to the seriousness of this academy.
It does, and that rigor is reinforced by their commitment to peer learning and professional self-reflection, first through intervisions and co-development. What's the critical distinction between those 2 formats?
Good question. Intervision is primarily about mutual enrichment and gaining perspective. It involves structured peer meetings with a small group of coaches, usually 6 to 8 people. Participants share real-life, often complex, coaching cases.
And the group provides cross-feedback and diverse perspectives on the challenges.
Exactly. It's a safe, non-judgmental space to validate your practices and gain confidence in your professional approach.
Then you have the more rigid structural format of co-development. This uses a specific 6-step method developed by Payette and Champagne. Why is this structured process so effective?
It's effective because it imposes discipline on collective intelligence. Participants alternate as the client and the consultant. It's not a free-for-all brainstorming session. It's a very precise sequence.
Which is?
Subject exposure, clarification questions, a consulting contract on what the client needs from the group, the consultation phase, the client's synthesis and action plan, and finally, a collective learning reflection.
So by forcing the client to frame their problem precisely and forcing the consultants to listen and provide structured input, it accelerates organizational learning and solution generation in a way that unstructured meetings just can't.
Exactly. And finally, there's the essential ethical and professional safeguard: supervision. This is a requirement for any serious coaching, but Addvanceo treats it as a necessity for taking professional distance and perspective.
And they offer 2 vital supervision tracks. First, coach supervision. This is non-negotiable for ethical practice. Coaches meet with accredited ICF supervisors to clarify complex client sessions, making sure they adhere strictly to the ICF ethical framework.
And
Crucially, they use this space to explore any personal resonances, their own feelings or biases that might have been triggered by challenging client work. This ensures the coach remains objective, impartial, and fully effective.
The second track, managerial supervision, is highly relevant for their core clients of organizational leaders. This is a dedicated space for managers, team leaders, and project heads to question their own postures and decisions without fear of hierarchy or judgment.
And the challenges discussed in this managerial supervision are so specific to the modern leader. They're exploring how to manage complexity and uncertainty, how to handle the unique challenges of power in transversal teams where you're leading colleagues who don't report to you.
Making high-pressure decisions.
And critically, balancing mental health support for their teams with that relentless drive for performance. It transforms the often isolated active management into a practice of continuous reflective learning, ensuring the manager's own savoir-être is sustainably maintained.
So let's ground this entire approach in its operational context. Addvanceo is a business skills training provider based in Belgium with a clear operational footprint in Brussels. Their scope is broad, covering organizational needs from sales effectiveness to overall corporate well-being.
Their location and accessibility in Brussels really confirm their focus as a regional leader in specialized organizational development. But the most important validation, I think, comes from their clients. Their average rating is high, 4.6 out of 5, based on 12 reviews. That's a strong indicator of consistent quality.
And the client feedback is crucial because it validates the effectiveness of these deep methodologies across diverse, demanding sectors. We saw validation from multiple areas.
We did. The clientele is varied, which proves the versatility of the Addvanceo system. We saw high praise from bank and finance CIOs who cited Patrick Zachary's remarkable expertise in navigating complex management and communication scenarios. They specifically noted his ability to offer pragmatic, actionable solutions.
Which speaks directly to his corporate background.
Absolutely. And then the public sector validates the humanistic side of the training. Administrators in public service noted that the aptitude coaching provided valuable self-management tools and helped them develop responsible, durable, and human relationships with collaborators. They specifically praised the fact that knowledge is transmitted through experience and experimentation.
Not just lectures.
Right. We also saw feedback from an executive in the agroalimentaire sector who praised a leadership seminar for leaving the team rich in reflection and teaching. And significantly, that participant from the aeronautics sector who found the training on personality profiles extremely useful for both professional and difficult personal interactions.
That validates the power of tools like PCM and DISC to resolve friction in all areas of life.
It does. This cross-sector confidence really underscores the universal applicability of the system's core principles.
And that brings us to the close of our deep dive. Addvanceo is clearly an expansive, meticulously structured system. It intentionally moves beyond simple transactional training, aiming for profound behavioral and methodological transformation.
And it integrates these rigorous psychological tools, PCM, appreciative inquiry, DISC with a high performance, collective engagement strategies learned directly from elite sport through the Red Lions case.
The core achievement really seems to be the systematic integration of those three dimensions we analyzed, clearly defining the context and objectives, the know-how,
fostering genuine engagement and communication,
the being, and promoting purposeful action and courageous choices, the becoming.
This entire architecture functions as a continuous self-aware loop. By focusing on existing strengths and being underpinned by ethical practice and a relentless internal alignment, they establish the necessary foundation for truly lasting organizational performance.
And that transformation step, that OZA, the daring phase, is where the system focuses the most.
Yeah.
It defines the goal not just as achieving a quarterly target, but as transforming ambitiously to become who you are called to become.
A powerful idea.
So we ask you, the listener, who's now well informed about the systematic tools and proven methods available, what foundational belief about yourself is holding you back from making that final courageous choice in your own leadership journey?
Thank you for joining this first conversation on the Addvanceo Podcast.
Speak to you soon.